It was supposed to be just another quiet evening, the kind Dawood had come to expect. The house was still, too still, with the low hum of the refrigerator, the only sound breaking the silence. He sat on the couch, flicking through a book he hadn't truly read in weeks. His eyes kept wandering to the clock. 10:15 p.m., the time Zamin Khan had promised she'd be home. But there was no sign of her. The door to their bedroom was shut tight, the only proof that she was upstairs somewhere. The coldness between them had grown like a shadow, silent, creeping, impossible to ignore. Lately, Zamin Khan's late nights, evasive answers, and distant smiles left a constant ache in Dawood's chest. It had been weeks since he felt any real connection to his wife. Weeks since he could look at her and not feel the weight of unanswered questions. He knew something was wrong, but what he didn't know was just how wrong it really was. Dawood's phone buzzed, pulling him from his restless thoughts. The unfamiliar number on the screen should have been a warning, but his mind, clouded with frustration and confusion, dismissed it. He swiped to answer. Hello? His voice was steady, though his heart was beginning to race for reasons he couldn't yet understand. The voice on the other end was a sharp contrast, urgent, frantic. Is this Dawood Harris? Are you the husband of Zamin Khan Harris? Dawood's breath caught in his throat. There was something in the voice, fear, panic, that set his nerves on fire. What was going on? Yes, I'm her husband. What's happening? Is Zamin Khan okay? The operator's response hit like a slap in the face. We received an emergency call from your wife. She says her lover has stopped breathing. We're sending an ambulance. Can you confirm the situation? Dawood's world came to a halt. His hand trembled, gripping the phone as the words seemed to echo in his mind. Her lover? He was still processing the phrase when a wave of nausea hit him. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. His wife, the woman he thought he knew, was having an affair. All at once, the pieces fell into place. The late nights, the hollow excuses, the cold distance. He felt the floor beneath him tilt, as if the very foundation of his life had cracked open. But nothing could prepare him for this. Zamin Khan's lover had collapsed. And in that moment, Dawood wasn't just a man betrayed. He was a witness to the destruction of everything he once believed in. His heart pounded as he asked the question he already knew the answer to. Where is she? Where is Zamin Khan? The operator's voice was calm, but Dawood's world had already been shattered. Dawood's chest tightened, the air in the room growing impossibly thick. His heart was pounding, and the world felt like it was closing in. The voice on the other end of the line was calm, too calm, while everything inside him screamed to wake up. This was not happening. It couldn't be. Sir? The operator asked, her tone flat, almost robotic. Is this Dawood Harris, husband of Zamin Khan Harris? Yes, that's me. His voice was hoarse, disbelieving, but he forced the words out, his grip tightening on the phone as though it could stop the shaking in his hands. The operator's next words hit like a slap. We received an emergency call from your wife. She says her lover has stopped breathing. We're sending an ambulance to address. Can you confirm that you're there with her? The floor beneath him seemed to tilt. His pulse thudded in his ears, and for a split second, he thought he might collapse right there. Her lover? He couldn't wrap his mind around it. He wasn't even sure if he heard her correctly. His wife, the woman he'd spent years with, the woman he thought he knew inside and out, was calling 911 because her lover had stopped breathing. Not his lover. Her lover. Dawood's throat tightened as he tried to push back the surge of panic and anger, but the words spilled out anyway. Her lover? His voice cracked, but the operator didn't pause. She had no idea how those words had just gutted him. Yes, sir. She called 911 herself in distress. She's at address, and the situation sounds critical. We need you to confirm if you're with her or if someone else is on site to assist. The words blurred together, but Dawood could still hear them. His mind was trying to make sense of the situation, but there was no logic that could untangle this mess. The shock was too much. A rush of questions flooded his mind. How long had this been going on? Who was the man? What was he to her? Was he more than Dawood was? Was this the end of the life Dawood thought he had? Is she, as Zamin Khan, okay? Dawood's voice was barely a whisper. He didn't know if he cared about Zamin Khan at this moment, or if the words were just a reflex. He felt his anger begin to twist into something darker, something more painful. The operator's tone remained steady, but her words pierced through his fog of confusion. "Sir, we don't have those details. We just need confirmation. Is someone with her right now? Can you assist until paramedics arrive?" Dawood's mind screamed for clarity, for understanding. The rage was bubbling up, rage at Zamin Khan, at the man, at the life he'd built on lies. But as much as it hurt, he couldn't ignore the reality of the situation. His wife was in crisis. As much as he wanted to scream, to confront her with all the fury building inside him, he had to act. The man might be her lover, but right now, he was a human being, and Dawood wasn't about to stand by and do nothing. "I'm on my way," Dawood said, his voice colder than he expected. He wasn't even sure where the words came from. His head was spinning, his body numb, but something deep inside told him he had to go. He hung up before the operator could say another word. Dawood stood there, the weight of the phone call sinking in. The air felt thick, suffocating. He hadn't realized until that moment how far things had gone, how much he had been in denial. His wife had an affair. She had been seeing someone else, someone close enough to call for help when his life was at risk. And now, here Dawood was, caught in the web of his own broken heart, standing on the edge of a life that was no longer his own. The truth was out. His world was unraveling before his eyes, and he was powerless to stop it. Dawood barely registered the drive to the house. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, his knuckles had turned white. His breath came in shallow gasps, every mile an eternity. His mind was on fire, every thought racing, every question unanswered. His wife, the woman he'd built a life with, had betrayed him in the worst way possible. Her lover. The words kept slamming into him like a wrecking ball, crashing through everything he thought he knew. By the time he pulled into the driveway, his heart was pounding so loud he thought it might break through his chest. The house was eerily silent, the lights flickering in the windows. There at the door, Zamin Khan stood, her figure faintly visible through the glass, pacing in a way that made the hairs on his neck stand up. He took a shaky breath, then slammed the car door with a force that echoed down the street. As he walked up the front door, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to walk into the ruins of his own life. When he stepped inside, everything stopped. The house, once a symbol of comfort, now felt like a trap. And standing in the middle of the living room, her hands trembling, was Zamin Khan. But it wasn't just her. The man, the one who had taken everything from him, was lying unconscious on the floor, his chest rising and falling in shallow, erratic breaths. Dawood's world tilted. For a moment, he thought he might faint, the blood draining from his face. This was his life now, and it was falling apart at his feet. Zamin Khan's eyes locked with his, panic flashing across her face. She opened her mouth, but the words didn't come. She stepped forward, as if to reach for him, but Dawood didn't move. His eyes never left the man on the floor, the man who was half-dressed, the man who had stolen more than Zamin Khan's body. He had stolen her heart. "Dawood, please." I can explain," Zamin Khan stammered, her voice breaking as she reached for him. Her hands shook so badly she could barely keep them steady. But Dawood wasn't looking at her anymore. Her lover was breathing, barely, but it didn't matter. The weight of the betrayal was crushing, suffocating him from the inside out. His hands balled into fists. No, don't you dare try to explain this," he said, his voice ice cold. He took a step forward, the rage rising in him like a flood. "You've been lying to me, Zamin Khan. All this time. And you," he gestured toward the man on the floor, "you called 911 for him?" His chest was tightening with a sickening, uncontrollable anger. "What am I supposed to be, Zamin Khan? Some kind of fool?" Zamin Khan flinched as if his words physically struck her. "Dawood, please." "Don't you dare call me Dawood," he snapped, cutting her off, his voice like steel. "You don't get to say my name. You lost that right the moment you let him into our home, the moment you let him into our life." The silence between them was deafening. He could see the desperation in her eyes, but it only made the betrayal that much sharper. He had loved this woman. He had trusted her with everything, and she had thrown it all away for someone else. He tried to swallow the lump in his throat, but it only seemed to make the pain worse. She was his wife, and she had chosen this man instead. Why? He demanded, the anger and hurt bursting out. Why him? What was so wrong with us? With me? Zamin Khan's face crumpled. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The guilt was written all over her. She wanted to explain, wanted to say something that would make it better. But Dawood didn't want to hear it. There was no explanation. There was no reason that could fix this. Don't you dare make excuses. Dawood's voice cracked, his throat tight. You didn't just sleep with him, Zamin Khan. You gave him everything. You gave him your heart, your trust, your love. And what did you give me? A damn lie. Zamin Khan reached for him again, tears streaming down her face now. Dawood, I'm so sorry. I never wanted it to go this far. I swear. It was a mistake I can't take back. A mistake? Dawood spat, cutting her off, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. No, Zamin Khan. A mistake is something you regret. This was a choice. You chose him. Over me. And now you're standing here begging for my forgiveness? You have no idea what you've done. He turned away from her, the full weight of the betrayal sinking into his bones. Get out, Zamin Khan, he whispered, his voice low and guttural. I can't do this. I can't be here anymore. There was a long pause. Zamin Khan stood frozen, as if the words had paralyzed her. Her hands fell to her sides. But there was nothing she could do now. The man she had chosen was still unconscious on the floor, but Dawood was already gone. The last shred of trust he had left in her had vanished, and there was no coming back from that. Finally, she whispered, Dawood, please don't do this. But he was already walking toward the door. He didn't look back. Dawood had always been the kind of person who believed in loyalty, in trust. He had built his entire life on it. His marriage with Zamin Khan had been no different. From the moment they met in college, there was an undeniable spark, a connection he couldn't ignore. She was the one who understood his quiet, introspective nature. She was the one who made him laugh when he was too consumed with his own thoughts. They had been inseparable. When they married 3 years ago, Dawood was certain they were unshakable. Zamin Khan was his partner, his equal. They made plans for the future, shared dreams, and believed that nothing could tear them apart. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. He hadn't noticed at first, or maybe he refused to. But as time passed, the little things changed. The late nights, the sudden increase in her work commitments, the moments when she seemed to be looking at her phone too often, then quickly putting it down when he walked into the room. It wasn't the kind of thing you could easily point to, but it was enough to make Dawood uneasy. He told himself it was all just the stress of life. Zamin Khan had recently been promoted at work. After all, more hours, more pressure. She had to adapt. He told himself he was overthinking it, but the whispers of doubt refused to go away. He remembered the first time he had caught her in a lie. It was small, insignificant. At least, that's what Zamin Khan had said. She had told him she was working late on a project. But then, hours later, he found a text on her phone from an unknown number. Can't wait to see you later tonight, love. I miss you. Dawood had tried to shake it off. It could have been innocent, couldn't it? But the more he thought about it, the more the uneasy feeling gnawed at him. His mind kept drifting back to that moment. Could Zamin Khan have been seeing someone else? He didn't want to believe it, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Still, he tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. After all, what good would it do to accuse her without proof? He buried his suspicions, telling himself they were just stress-induced insecurities. But things didn't improve. The late nights stretched into weeks. The vague, rushed explanations continued, each one leaving Dawood feeling more disconnected from the woman he had once trusted completely. The quiet tension between them became unbearable. Then there were the small shifts in Zamin Khan's behavior, subtle, yet jarring. Her smile wasn't quite the same. Her laugh didn't feel as genuine. And the intimacy they used to share, it was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Dawood would reach for her in bed, but she'd roll away, pulling the covers closer. Or she'd kiss him, but it felt forced, like a gesture out of habit rather than desire. It wasn't until Dawood found a second message, this time a longer one, that everything started to crumble. His heart sank when he saw it, even before he read the words. "I can't stop thinking about you, Adam. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it, but I think I'm falling for you." Dawood's fingers went cold, his entire body freezing in place as he read it again, his vision blurred. Adam, this wasn't just a co-worker or a friend. Zamin Khan had been seeing someone, and the worst part, she had been falling in love with him. The shock of it left Dawood breathless, his mind reeling. The man she was seeing, Adam, had slowly taken the place he had once occupied in her heart. He could feel the bitter taste of betrayal rise in his throat. Had she planned this all along? Or was he just a fool who had failed to see what was right in front of him? For weeks, he sat with this knowledge, the weight of it crushing him. He couldn't confront her, not yet. He had to wait, to see if there was any part of the woman he had loved that remained. But everything, every gesture, every word, felt like a lie. And Zamin Khan? She had no idea that Dawood knew. Then came the night of the 911 call, the moment that shattered the last remnants of his world. The operator's voice still haunted him. "Sir, are you the husband of Zamin Khan Harris? She says her lover has stopped breathing. We're sending an ambulance. Can you confirm the situation?" Dawood felt a cold, paralyzing wave of disbelief wash over him. Her lover. The word stung worse than anything. She had never told him the full truth. She never intended to. But now, the reality of it all was unavoidable. Zamin Khan had been living a lie, and the man she had chosen was lying on the floor in front of him, unconscious. Dawood hadn't realized how deep the wound was until that moment. Zamin Khan's affair wasn't just an emotional betrayal. It was an entire reality that he had never been a part of. All their years together, their dreams, their love, had been a facade. It was all so painfully clear now. And the hardest part? Zamin Khan still wanted him to play along. To act like this was a situation they could fix. But Dawood couldn't. He couldn't pretend anymore. Not after everything he had uncovered. The truth was out. And now, as he stood over the wreckage of their marriage, he finally understood the scope of the betrayal. Dawood stared at the closed door, his chest heavy as though the weight of the entire universe was pressing against him. The silence in the house was suffocating, each moment dragging him deeper into a place he wasn't sure he could return from. The man, Adam, was gone, rushed away in an ambulance, unconscious from whatever had caused the emergency. But the reality of what had just happened was far worse than any physical injury. His marriage was over. He knew it in the pit of his stomach. Zamin Khan, standing across from him, her eyes swollen from tears, was still waiting for him to say something, anything, but Dawood couldn't form the words. His mind was a battlefield of raw emotions, disbelief, anger, betrayal, and something else, something he didn't want to face. Grief. Grief for the life he thought he had. Grief for the woman he had loved. Grief for the future that would never be. Zamin Khan had begged him, pleaded, "Dawood, please, please don't walk away. I love you. This was a mistake. I swear it's over. He means nothing to me. You're my life. You always have been." The words sounded rehearsed now, too perfect, too timed, and they fell hollow. The same words she had likely whispered to Adam, the same promises she had made him, except Zamin Khan had never meant them the way she had meant them with Dawood. No, she had already given her heart to someone else. Dawood's eyes drifted over to the empty space beside him, the spot where they had shared so many quiet mornings, where Zamin Khan had kissed him goodnight, where they had made promises to each other. All of that had been a lie. He wanted to scream at her, to rail against the cruel twist of fate that had brought him to this moment. But instead, he stood there in silence, the words locked inside his chest. He wanted to ask her why. Why had she thrown away everything they had? Wasn't he enough? Wasn't their life together enough? But he knew the answer before he even asked. It had never been enough. Not for her. The silence between them grew unbearable. Every breath felt like a weight in his chest. his chest where his heart used to be. He thought of the moments they'd shared, the way she had looked at him with that tenderness in her eyes, the late nights they stayed up talking about their dreams. Was all of it a lie, too? Had she looked at him the same way she had looked at Adam when they were together? He thought of her calling 911 for him. Her lover, not him. How could he ever forgive that? How could he ever look at her the same way again? The truth cut deeper than anything he could have imagined. She didn't just betray him with another man. She had chosen him over Dawood. Zamin Khan. He finally spoke, his voice hoarse but firm. It felt like it had taken everything inside him to say it. I can't do this. I can't be here anymore. Her face crumpled as though the words physically struck her. She reached for him, her hands trembling. Dawood, please, please don't do this. I'm sorry. I was confused. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I never meant to hurt you. You have to believe me. Dawood recoiled, stepping back, as though the space between them wasn't enough. Believe you, he whispered, as if the word itself tasted foreign on his tongue. How can I believe you? After everything? After you chose him over me? The hurt in his voice was raw, the anger bubbling to the surface, threatening to swallow him whole. He turned away from her then, his hands clenched in tight fists, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The weight of the decision bore down on him like a boulder. The truth was undeniable now. Their life together was a lie. She had given herself to another man, not just physically, but emotionally. I trusted you, he said, barely above a whisper, though the words felt like they could destroy him. I gave you everything. My heart, my soul, and you gave it away. Just like that. Zamin Khan's sobs echoed through the room, but Dawood couldn't bring himself to comfort her. He was numb, too numb to care, too wounded to pretend that everything could go back to the way it was. That life was gone. I'm leaving, Dawood said, his voice steady but heavy with finality. I don't know what's left for me here. You've broken me. I can't stay. Zamin Khan looked at him, her eyes pleading, but there was nothing left for her to say. The silence in the room was louder than any argument they could have had. This was the end. Dawood gathered the few things he needed, his clothes, his phone, his keys, and as he reached the door, he felt a surge of something unfamiliar. Peace. It wasn't relief. It wasn't freedom. It was just peace. For the first time in days, his mind felt still. The choice had been made. As he stepped out into the night, the door shutting softly behind him, Dawood didn't look back. The house that had once been his home felt like a lifetime ago, a world that no longer existed. The world that did exist was one where he was alone, and the road ahead seemed both terrifying and strangely comforting. For the first time in what felt like forever, Dawood felt like he could breathe again. Months had passed since Dawood walked away from Zamin Khan. The silence between them had become permanent, and the weight of betrayal, though lighter now, still clung to him in quiet moments. He'd rebuilt his life, slowly, piece by piece, but the man he had been before was gone. The wounds had healed, but scars remained, reminders of the love he had once believed in. Zamin Khan had tried reaching out, sending texts, calling, but Dawood never responded. He had learned that some people were meant to be left behind. He was different now, stronger, yet still uncertain about what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear. He had saved himself.